Hey, Amy Posner here, and I want to talk to you today briefly about a topic that's come up, I'm going to say 2 or 3 times in the last week, and I'm just so amused how things seem to run in cycles, like where people are bringing up the same issues. It's just very odd, but they seem to come in batches lately. And so this particular question had to do with how many projects should you be working at once as a freelancer, particularly as a copywriter. It's tricky, right? Because one of the things about running a successful business is you want to have ongoing clients, right? You want to avoid that so-called feast and famine cycle where, there's so much going on, you've got so much opportunity, and then suddenly you're like, you finish your projects and there's nothing new on the horizon. And typically your income tends to level out, but it can be very nerve-wracking during those times, during those in-between times. Where this relates is the tendency is to say yes to everything because you're worried about something else not coming in. So so what happens is you're tempted to say yes to things that you maybe don't necessarily want to do or don't fit in with your plan, but you're worried about what's going to come down the track. And so you say yes, thinking, well, yeah, I need the money and I want the money, and maybe there won't be that offer of a project next month. And so I better do this. And then you get a little bit overwhelmed. You've got a lot of, you're juggling a lot of balls in the air. So what do you do, and how do you manage that? There's 2 things, actually there's 3 things to consider. Every time you say yes to one thing, you're in effect saying no to another. There's an opportunity cost for everything you say yes to. And so you want to be careful that you are saying yes to things that suit your ultimate goal, and you should have an ultimate goal. And what I mean by your ultimate goal is that, if you have you're gunning for a certain financial goal or a certain lifestyle goal, there are things that fit with that and there are things that don't. And unless you're very clear about which things those are, you're likely to say yes to something that isn't a fit. And so then when the right thing comes along, you don't have the time, and so you have to say no, and that's the opportunity cost, and it's too high a price to pay. Now, the other thing is you want to have a pipeline in place. So you want to have some way that you are doing outreach, whether it's building your authority and getting found that way, whether you're putting out content, you're cold pitching, you're running paid advertising, whatever you're doing, you want to make sure that you're running that all the time. The tendency is to find work, stop the pipeline, stop looking for work, and then there's no work, and then you have to rush and cram and do everything all at once. Where if you have a system that just is working behind the scenes in an automated way, then you don't have to worry about that. You always have leads coming in and you have a choice. And so that's a really important thing to build, is to have a pipeline. And what that looks like is really simple. What I teach is for people to build a lead magnet. I'm not crazy about that term, but it's basically, a piece that delivers value that you can offer for free in exchange for somebody's email address so that you can build a list and be in conversation with people. And so what you need then is a way to get in touch with people, a way to, push that lead magnet out, whether you're doing it by email, by social, you're just mentioning it to people, it's on your website. So you have the lead magnet that goes to an interested person. And this is somebody who's like, I might be interested in what you offer. And they raise their hand, you send that to them. Now you have permission to nurture them and to be in contact with them over time. And that's one of the best ways to work a pipeline. More on that. That's its own topic. The pipeline. But so you want to have a pipeline, you want to have a plan so you know what to say yes to and what to say no to. And then in terms of how many projects to work at once, it's a very personal thing. I know copywriters who will only work on one project at once. It's just too much competing noise if they're working on more. And I know people that work on literally 3 or 4 at one time. My current number is 2. It used to be 3. I'm not full-time copywriting anymore. I do other things. So the 3 would not be tenable for me. And I kind of at this point prefer 1. And so here are some thoughts about how many projects you should take on. There's a lot of factors that go into this. If you work on bigger, more complex projects, you probably want to do fewer of them. If you work on simpler projects, you can do multiple ones at the same time. And the thing is, typically, if you're looking at your income and your income goals and the size of the project, so the bigger projects obviously are more expensive projects, but they're also more complex, and there's more to track, and there's more project management. And so take a round number, 10,000, say you want to make 10,000 in a month. You can do one $10,000 project, or you could do, 3 $3,200 projects, right? And those will be simpler. But what you need to know is like, what's your relationship like with the clients? Like, what are you able to do for them? Because one of the things that I'm a really big proponent of is excellent customer service and taking really good care of clients. I do that because I like to do it. I enjoy it. I like giving people a great experience. But I also know it sets me apart in the field because a lot of people don't do it. And one of the aspects of that great customer service is keeping in touch with people. So typically, especially in copywriting, when we start a project, there's a research phase. And so, there's all this momentum, you're all excited, you sign the agreement, and then you basically disappear. You go into your cave, you do your research, for all your client knows, you're sitting home, eating bonbons and watching Netflix. So what you do is every Monday you tell them, hey, these are the plans for the week for, the X project. And then Friday, hey, this is what we've got done. Here's where we are, if there's anything that you need from them, and you keep them informed. Now, one of the ways that I have used this is when you're juggling multiple projects, they're in different stages. Ideally, they are, because if they're all running at the exact same stage, you could lose your mind. But they're usually not. You don't usually close all the deals on the same day and start all the projects on the same day. So what you do, though, when you're running multiple projects, is you make sure that you do the foundational research for each one, because what happens is there are always questions that you have to ask from what clients give you initially. And if you, in your mind, go, okay, I've got 1, 2, 3 projects, I'll do this one, then I'll do this one, then I'll do this one, this third client is going to get a little bit of short shrift and they're not going to get something. There's going to be a delay, a gap in the time because you haven't started yet. And so if you can start them all and just look at the research and find out what you need to ask the client, because it's a very awkward situation if you put off even opening the file for a week, and then after a week you're asking a really basic question, and then it looks like you did nothing that first week. Where actually it's okay if you did nothing, but it gives a bad impression to the client. And the way that I handled that would be to just ask a question. I would open it up, I'd look at everything, I'd get my questions, and then I would, start asking my questions. So while they're getting back to me, I'm working over here. And I would do that week to week because there's always something to check in with the client about. So I find that by getting in touch with people and keeping them informed about what's happening in the project and asking them questions, so now, the ball's in their court, that the timing just seems to work out better. And I'm not sure that I'm explaining this to you quite as well as I could be, but the point is, you want clients, however your process works behind the scene, you want clients to feel well taken care of and to know that you're on it, right? So it's not comforting for a client to know you're not going to get to the thing for a week. And so they don't need to know that, right? So ask them the question or indicate that you've gotten started and literally do get started. So you've looked at the material and you don't put yourself in that awkward position. And then I think what you need to do is, as you're doing the projects, monitor exactly what's happening. So if you're doing 3 projects, say, as opposed to 2, or do you feel stressed? Do you start to feel overwhelmed? Do you start to feel like you're losing track of things? That's probably an indication that 3 projects is too many. And if you're worried, well, I need 3 projects to make money, then we probably need to look at your pricing. And I'm not one of these people who's like, raise your price every moment that you can and get the most money. I mean, of course, you want to be compensated well for your work, but I don't think that's necessarily the goal. However, you need to be paid well enough that you're not stressed, that you're actually, enjoying the work and that you're not resentful. And that comes with knowing how much work you can handle. And it's not even necessarily like the number of hours you're working in a week. Because like, say you're working 30 hours a week, you can be working on 2 projects or 3 projects. But what you do in that time and how you feel during that time can be significantly different depending on the number of projects you're working on. And so it's a personal thing. You want to test it out. But if you get to the point where you're feeling too stretched and overwhelmed at a certain level of work or project level, then it's really important to dial back, because I don't think you can do your best work in that case. And so you're shortchanging yourself and you're doing your client a disservice. And one caveat here, it does get easier. I mean, if you're newer, it can really feel like a lot, right? You're really like, you're juggling the learning, you're juggling something being new, you're juggling new clients, new skills, all of that stuff. And it can be big. But as you get, more seasoned and you're running your business, I think you'll find that you'll sort of slot into a pattern and find out what is right for you in that regard. And if you need any help figuring that out, I do that routinely in my coaching on demand service. In fact, I helped someone this morning. It was kind of cool. She knows what she wants to do and what she wants to launch 6 months from now, and we're reverse engineering her plan, beginning with her ultimate offer, and then everything that needs to happen starting right now to make that work. And it's so much fun when someone goes from there's all this stuff up here and I've got all these ideas, there's all these things I'm thinking about, to corralling it and sort of bringing it down to earth and putting it into an actual form. Because, from there, what it becomes is a business plan, right? And then it's then you know what to do every single day because you've got it all mapped out. Anyway, point being here, figure out for yourself how many projects you can take on. And this can also be a really good time, especially in the earlier phases of your business, to start observing, where are you spending time on client work? Are you spending time on busy work? Are you spending time on admin? Are you spending time on tasks that really should be done by an assistant because you could make more money doing your main thing and not doing your administrative tasks? And this is all of the stuff that will start to fall out as you start to time yourself, as you start to take on more projects. But I would suggest, unless you do teeny tiny little projects like you write ads or you write chatbot conversations or something, I would suggest that you don't go for more than 3 clients at once, and you may just find that 2 is a sweeter spot. If it turns out that your level of focus is intense and you really want to only work on one thing at once, think about a specialty where you can command more money for your expertise so that while you're working on that project, you're also being well compensated and making the money that you need to make. So I hope this was helpful. If you would like to know when these videos drop, click the bell and you will be notified. Thanks for watching. Bye for now. I'll catch you next time.